Talk of the Town today here on AM 1390 KRFO. Third Wednesday of the month, so we do it a little bit later as we have either the City Administrator Chris Busey or, in this case, we have Mayor Tom Kuntz, who joins us and recaps some of the business that's been taken care of in the month of March. A couple of council meetings ahead. We'll roll back a couple of weeks, Mayor, and talk about the strategic planning. That was covered a couple weeks ago, I believe.
A couple weeks ago on the March 3rd meeting at 5:30, we talked about our strategic plan, and the four key initiatives on our strategic plan are the key focus areas of infrastructure and economic vitality, quality of life, and residential redevelopment. And as we go forward in the next 3 to 10 years, we will be identifying each one of those issues and how can we improve city government in providing services to those key issues. And I think one of the nice things that come out of that is we also identified our capital improvement projects for the next 3 years and looked at them for the next 10 years. But for the next 3 years, we identified what capital improvement projects are most important to the city of Owatonna. What are those capital improvement projects going to cost? How does it affect the tax base? What's going to be funded out of cash? What's going to be bonded? And we can give that information to the city and the county and the school district, so we don't all impact the taxpayer at the same time. It gives us a roadmap of what we're looking forward, going forward, and how it affects the tax base of the city of Owatonna.
Yeah, and you think about, for most people who aren't in government and all that, the fact that there's so much planning that has to be done. You can't just say, well, we'll talk about it this month, next month we'll do it. It's bits and pieces, and just got to fit them together. It's a never-ending process.
And all the council members are truly on mark on this. They want to make sure that we provide the best service at the best possible rates, and that's why this strategic plan is so important to all the council members.
And the DNR, I believe, came up that meeting a couple weeks ago too.
Yeah, the DNR, we put in for a grant for to finish off the trails from the Yellow Cannon Company, I call it, up to 26th Street, and see if we can get some hard surface going in on that. So the grant's available. We put in for it. We'll find out if we receive it or not. Mm-hmm. The other thing we've done, and starting at the March 3rd meeting, is Chris and I went up to the high school and did our State of the City. And believe it or not, there is a lot of young students that are interested in city government. And so we took the opportunity now, each month we're going to try and have a representative from the Owatonna High School sit on our city council. And this month of March, it was Robert Sorensen was our student of the month that comes and sits on the city council and can give us some input from the student perspective. So it was kind of nice to involve them.
And getting room for one of them someday will be in your shoes.
You got it. And well, hopefully someday that one of them will be the mayor of the city of Owatonna coming forward. Okay. We did some stormwater management, second reading of the stormwater management. Stormwater management is becoming more and more of an issue as you build going forward. Most of the storm ponds are supposed to be on the site that's being built on. If you look at what we've done in the past, we've had some storm ponds that were up for Viracon and for McQuay Dyken. They were more regional storm ponds, and what they're trying to do now is combine them more to the site specific. So we passed our stormwater ordinance management, and we also did a request to Steele County for a turn back to County Road 107, Lamont Road, north of US Highway 14. And that pretty much covers the meeting on the 3rd.
And then last night you started off with not one but two special sessions, including Morehouse Dam.
Morehouse Dam. We had a presentation from the Dam Preservation Committee, and they brought in Bolton and Mink, I believe it was, and they did a overview of how technology has changed from when we rebuilt the dam back 5, 6, 8 years ago, whatever that time period was, to where it is today. And the computer modeling is much more efficient than it was back in those days. And what they're looking at trying to do is have a new computer modeling done that would take a look at how the flow of the water goes around the fish passage and it goes over the dam. And what happens right now is it seems like that flow creates some currents and drops that sandbar right where they don't want it. It really takes care of the cosmetics of the dam. So they're hoping that the city will authorize a use of some of the reserve funds that were set aside for dam preservation and commitments going forward, to use some of those and have a new study done to see if we can improve the flow rates or do some changes to get rid of that sandbar and move it downstream. So we looked at that. City Council is going to have to wrestle with that to figure out if they want to move forward with that and how they want to cover the cost of it. The study to do the computer modeling is somewhere around $25,000. There is a reserve fund that was put aside for the dam. It's got about $40,000 in it, so the City Council will have to decide how they want to move forward. The difficult part of that's going to be that once that study's done, the removal of the debris and the corrections that got to take place could be up as much as $100,000. And so how we find that $100,000 to move forward will be a very, very difficult task.
You also had a session on something called codification. Is that something, I'm not sure what that is. Is that something to talk about?
One of the things that has been done in the past is all the fees and everything have been done in certain structures, and now they've got a passage and a new creation of how they handle the fee structures, how they advertise it, where they find it, and all that type of stuff. So Mark Wildbrand worked very, very hard on that.
A number of other things covered last night, including some news as far as, well, I guess we'll call it expansion in Owatonna businesses, and also something else coming to town.
We had a great year in 2014, and we're hoping that 2015 will be exactly as great or even better than 2014. And it started out last night with the, I call it Gateway 2. It's a 36-unit apartment complex that is going to be on the east side of the existing gateway. It's 36 units, and it's more considered workforce housing type units. And I think there's a certain number of those units that have to be rented out to, if you have a family of four that's income is $36,000 or less, we'll have special access to some of those apartments. So it's truly workforce housing and providing housing for those that need a little assistance in their costs. So that should be starting up this summer. The other good news is that Bushaboy has the hydroponic tomatoes that they grow out there, and they continue to expand and continue to get more and more business. And so they're doing a 4-acre expansion, and we approved a TIF for them last night. So
okay, and not far from here on Austin Road, we'll be seeing some things popping up soon.
Yeah, and if you're familiar with Austin Road, there is a bean field on the east side of Austin Road that will now be called the Cottages, and they had first reading and first approval last night. Those cottages, they're looking at building 3 cottages over the life of that project. Only one of them will start up this year. Those cottages are aimed at providing care for Alzheimer's and those type of things. One of the things that was the first reading of it last night. One of the concerns is that when we're looking at the south end of town, the stormwater and the stormwater runoff, if you look at the street in front of the radio station here and everything, when it rains real heavy, it fills up with water, and so all that water has got to go to the south. We're having some engineers and everything take a look at how to best handle all that water. As we look at the cottages being built on Austin Road, that's incorporated with that water that's going to be running off. So the cottages will move forward. We'll just have to figure out the best way to handle the stormwater runoff from the south side of town here.
And I believe there's some talk about the highways last night, and if not, there will be some talk coming up at the end of the month as far as 14 and 35.
Yeah, I think, just for the general public's knowledge, on March 30th, out in the Minnesota MnDOT Highway Department out there, at 5:30, they will be doing a public information meeting on Interstate 35. Last year we got the west side rebuilt, and this year we're going back to the east side, so they will cover how it's going to affect all the businesses out in that area and how the traffic is going to be rerouted and everything. And then we are working on that 2-mile stretch on Highway 14. So at 7:30 they'll have a information meeting on Trunk Highway 14 and how that will be completed this year. And I think they'll also probably cover that overlay from Dodge Center to Interstate 35 that is scheduled to be resurfaced this year. I know they're going to be very careful about working out around the Steele County Free Fair time. So those information meetings will be taken care of on March 30th. And on March 19th, we get to do a ribbon cutting. Aspen Dental is doing its official opening and ribbon cutting on the 19th at 1 o'clock, if anybody is interested in going to that. Another thing is that we honored Rick Ellingson and Kelly Arndt at a council meeting for their great service, and Rick was unable to attend, but he is back to work now, and so they will do a special award on April 14th at 4 o'clock at the Owatonna Clinic, which is very good.
Okay.
And also did a proclamation for the city of Owatonna. The month of April is Blue Ribbon Month, and Blue Ribbon Month is really the National Child Abuse Prevention Month. So there will be some stuff down at the Law Enforcement Center. There will be some stuff at Central Park proclaiming National Child Abuse Prevention Month.
Okay. Anything else? Otherwise, I suppose Friday your cutlass comes out of the garage first day of spring or not?
Well, I've looked at it. It's still sitting in there. But, you look across the street in the old Hirsch Building, and I see they're getting more and more activity there. I think they're supposed to be opening up in this week or next week. This beautiful weather makes you want to get everything back out. But when you got classic cars and hot rods right next to the fairgrounds, where I'll be spending most of my time.
Close to us, I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
Mayor, go ahead.
And the last thing is I just wanted to cover that we are a member of the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities, and that's one of our lobbying efforts that we use up to the state capitol. And there's 7 things that are important to the city of Owatonna from the coalition's possession, and that's LGA increase, Greater Minnesota Business Development, public infrastructure grants, and those grants last year and the year before were used for the expansion of the ponds for Daikin and for Viracon, and we were getting in excess of $1.2 million on those grants. So we just need to make sure those are funded and can be used in outstate Minnesota. Number 3, job training. Number 4, workforce housing. Number 5, broadband funding. Number 6, transportation. And number 7, environment and regulatory reform. So those are the issues that are important to the city of Owatonna and the coalition that we'll be lobbying on this year.
Okay. Owatonna Mayor Tom Kuntz, and he'll join us, or Chris Busey, City Administrator, on the 4th Wednesday in April. That's our Talk of the Town for today on AM 1390.